Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whatever time you find this video, I hope that you are doing well. So in honor of February being our Random Acts of Kindness month, I felt like a really important thing for us to do was practicing being kinder to ourselves and becoming more aware of kind of our negative self-talk. So what that is essentially kind of the things that we tell ourselves, especially when you're stressed. That little voice that maybe is very critical or hard on you, maybe is showing up a bit more. And I think, given the nature of the world and the year that we have been through, it's arguable that this is a stressful time for pretty much anyone accessing this video. So, the first thing I wanted to do was just use two approaches to self-compassion, and then I'm going to take us into a exercise for challenging our critical self-talk. So two approaches to self-compassion are kind of this idea of the yin and the yang. So the yin is like being with, to validate, to connect, and to comfort. And the yang is kind of like acting in the world. It's protecting, providing, and motivating. And so, in order to be more self compassionate, questions to ask yourself would be, what do I need to feel safe? What do I need to be comforted, soothed, or validated? And what do I need to protect, provide, or motivate for myself? And just really take time to reflect on that. And I actually would honestly even encourage you to pause this video and really journal or talk out loud to yourself, whatever it is that your preferred method is. I would just try it out, because I think oftentimes when we settle in and really think about things, it hits us differently and it makes us more aware of areas where we could maybe strengthen and improve on. So, after that, the next questions to kind of ponder would be, how would I treat a friend in the same situation? And I love that question, because I think so often it's really easy for us to see clearly when we're talking to our best friend or our partner or our child. And we can be really clear headed. And when we're talking to ourselves, sometimes that's not kind of the feedback that we give ourselves, and we're much harder on ourselves than we would be to a friend. So I love this question, and I think it would be important to ask yourself this often. So, how would I treat a friend in the same situation? And then, lastly, how do I care for myself already? So, what things do I do to take care of myself? What things make me feel good that I make time for? Or thinking about what things make you feel good, and maybe what have you not made time for that might be helpful for you to be a little bit kinder to yourself. So, just giving you a minute to think about that, and maybe pause this video while we do that. I'm going to take us into the exercise of changing critical self talk. So, this is something generally that you kind of practice for a while. And so, I would encourage you to really go back to this video if this is something you struggle with. And so, over time, as we continue to do this, we eventually kind of change how we relate to ourselves long term. And so, some people find it useful to work kind of on their inner critic by writing in a journal. Others maybe feel better about internal dialogues, thinking through in your head. Some people like to write, some people like to talk, some people like to think. I would say, whatever it is that you like, do that, right? There is no one size fits all blueprint to this. So, you know yourself best, and kind of pick what works best for you to kind of continue practicing these skills. So, you can speak aloud to yourself or think silently. So, the first step towards changing the way you treat yourself is to notice when you're being self critical. So, it may be that, like many of us, your critical voice is so common and so frequent that you don't even notice if it's happening or when it's present. And so, whenever you're feeling bad about something, Think about what you just said to yourself and just try to be as accurate as possible. Noting just kind of your inner speech, word for word, verbatim. And I want you to just notice, what words do you actually use when you're being self critical? Are there key phrases that come up over and over again? What is the tone of your voice? Is it harsh? Is it angry? Is it cold? Does the voice remind you of anyone in your past who was critical of you? You want to be able to get to know the inner self critic really well and to kind of become aware of when your inner judge is really active and going wild. So, for instance, if you've eaten half a box of Oreos, does your inner voice say something like, you make me sick, or something really critical? Maybe you notice it's like really harsh judgments of your body or of yourself, and so on. So, really just try to get a clear sense about how you talk to yourself, because I think that is the biggest game changer in self compassion and changing that inner dialogue is sometimes just stopping to realize maybe how harsh we are and how critical we are of ourselves. So, I want to encourage you to make an active effort to really soften that critical voice. But just like I've mentioned in so many other videos that we've done, it's important to do so with compassion rather than judgment. So, don't say really harsh things to your inner critic, because then you're still kind of facilitating that negative, hostile environment internally. Um, but maybe try saying something like, I know you're worried about me and feel unsafe, but you're causing me unnecessary pain. Could you let my inner compassionate self say a few words now? And I think that's really powerful too, because you're honoring the feeling. I feel unsafe. This is causing me pain. And then kind of speaking back, right? Can you let my inner compassionate self say a few things now? You got your moment. And now it's my turn to tune into what's important in that inner compassion and inner knowledge. And then after doing that, just kind of reframe the observations made by your inner critic in a friendly and positive way. So if you're having trouble thinking of what words to use, um, you might want to just imagine what a very compassionate friend or therapist or, um, considerate boss would say to you in this situation. It might help to use a term of endearment that strengthens those expressed feelings of warmth and care, but only if it feels natural. I mean, we are all different. And again, one size does not fit all. So if that's not your natural inclination, don't force it. If it is, and if you have an easy time doing that, do it. So for instance, you could say something like, this is totally not me. So it's like very odd. So again, I wouldn't do this, but darling, I know that you ate a bag of cookies because you're feeling really sad right now and you thought it would make you feel better, or you thought it would cheer you up. Um, but you feel even worse and you're not feeling good in your body. And, I want for you to be happy. So why don't you take a long walk so you feel better? So you're engaging the supportive self talk that you might want to try, comforting yourself. So I know I've talked about this early on in our videos, but gesturing is one of the tools that you can use to help yourself. And so you could use gesturing in this circumstance to calm yourself. So it might be like rubbing your hand, or, some people find comfort in like putting their hands together when they're nervous. And so that can be a really comforting gesture to yourself, and it can be kind. Um, and then physical gestures of warmth can really tap into our caregiving system. So even if we're having trouble, calling up emotions of kindness out first, or if we're having trouble being gentle with ourselves, um, by actually doing this and working on it, you're releasing oxytocin. And that helps to change your biochemistry. So the important thing, right, is just to start acting kindly, and feelings of true warmth and caring will eventually follow. So I just want to validate that in the beginning, especially if you have a lot of negative, critical self talk, this feels so hard. But the more you practice it, the more you start to notice that harsh inner critic and that inner voice. And you're able to combat it. And the more that you're able to provide that kindness and that compassion and that empathy to yourself, the more we're able to extend that outward. So I really loved this activity because I know during times of stress, it can be really hard not to be critical. So I hope that this exercise was helpful to you. I know ordinarily we do more of a meditation, but I wanted to practice a skill this week. And I will go ahead and record a separate meditation too if you are not into practicing skills and just come here for mindful moments. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and I am looking forward to seeing you on our next video.